Hi guys.
Hi everyone. Thank you for joining in the AMA session with us. I'm Shihan and I have Yiwei here with me. Hi Yiwei.
Hello. Hi guys.
So we are from the organizing team of Startup Weekend Singapore 2020 and we'll be a host for the AMA this evening. For now, we'll just wait for a few more minutes before people tune in and we'll start.
Yep. Hello.
Hi. Hi everyone. For those of you that just joined in, I'm Shihan and I have Yiwei here with me. And we are from the organizing team of Startup Weekend. And so last Wednesday, we have launched Startup Weekend Singapore 2020, and we've been getting quite a number of interested participants coming to us with questions. So take this AME session as a platform for you guys to address any queries that you guys have. Also, we'll have Nikhil, the partner of Strive, joining us in a bit to share on the challenges and opportunities he foresees for the startup community. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we do have some friends from the Hyperspark program as well. Hi to you guys. Thanks for streaming in.
Right. So if you guys have anything to share, keep your comments coming. Any questions that you guys have for Startup Weekend this year, just let us know and we'll address it along the way. And also because we've actually looked at the participant list for Startup Weekend Singapore 2020, and we've seen like participants signing up from Vietnam, Pakistan, so from a lot of places. And if you guys are dialing in today, let us know do give us a shout out and let us know where you guys are dialing in from as well.
Yeah,
Right.
now we'll just wait for a couple more minutes for more people to tune in. Keep your comments coming. Okay, so you can put up your comments, any questions that you may have for Nikhil in the comment section at the Facebook live stream. And we will actually be, sharing them with Nikhil later on when he dials in. Yeah, so we'll be actually looking to ask him questions revolving around, some of the challenges and opportunities for entrepreneurs and startups due to the pandemic situation today. So you can, have your questions along this vein.
Right. Now, so before Nikhil joins us, let us share a bit more about this startup weekend that we're running. So we are really very excited to be part of the Techstars movement to hold this global online startup weekend. And for this edition itself, we have about 70 cities that signed up to run the startup weekend virtually with us. And it's actually, fun fact, it's actually also the first time the Singapore team is trying to run a virtual startup weekend, and on the 24th to 26th April. So if you guys haven't grabbed a ticket, tickets are on Eventbrite. You can head over to grab a ticket after the session. And make a guess, how many cities do you think we have running the virtual startup weekend on the 24th to 26th? Given that we have 70. Yeah.
Any guesses? Yeah, so fun fact, we actually have a total of 36 countries out of 70, so more than half, that will actually be running on the same weekend as us. So this will include countries such as Indonesia, Malaysia, New Zealand, and Greece. So you guys are not alone. So during this weekend when we are, busy hacking ideas, actually we'll be doing it with 36 other cities. So that's something. And yeah, so I think this is quite amazing that, globally we can have everyone having hackathons at the same time. I guess that's the beauty of doing everything virtual, I guess. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe for those that are new to Startup Weekend, maybe Shahan, because Shahan has been, part of the organizing team for the past few Startup Weekends. So maybe Shahan, can you share a little bit more about how the past few Startup Weekends, how's the structure like, so that those that are new can understand a little bit more?
Okay, so basically this is actually a global program that's under Techstars, and it's actually fully run by volunteers in more than 150 cities with more than 2,900 events to date. It's a 54 hours program where people come together to ideate and build solutions to solve day-to-day challenges. So what's interesting for them this time around is that participants of this particular startup weekend happening on the 24th to 26th of April, they'll be tackling the challenges that's arising from COVID-19 virtually. Right. And Yiwei, I know this is the first time you joining the organizing team, and it's also the first time you're trying to run a virtual startup weekend. So can you share some of the similarities and differences that you guys you see for this particular one?
Yeah, so I think aside from I guess for the most part, it's gonna be the exciting parts of Startup Weekend is still gonna be there. So the mock pitch, the final pitches, the master classes and the mentor sessions are all still gonna be there, but everything is basically virtual. So I think you should still expect to be able to interact with our over 100 participants right now. So just an update for everyone, we have over 100 participants that have signed up, and that's not including the mentors and the people that will be bringing in for the master classes. So if anything, I think the experience should be even more intense because you guys will be interacting with all the 100 participants online. And yeah, we do expect to kind of deliver the same excitement and experience over virtual, just that everything will be done like online and through platforms. Yeah.
All right. Oh, yeah, we do have someone saying hi from us from the Philippines. Hi, we're in Singapore.
Hello.
And there is a question on what is the format like. So I think like what Yiwei has shared, it's like a typical startup weekend whereby it's over 3 days, 24th, 25th, 26th, where people come together and they've craft solutions. But what's different this time around is so the pitching of your idea doesn't happen on day one. Instead, it's actually happening from right now till next Thursday, the 23rd of April. And so for everyone that has a ticket, and if you have an idea that you want to work over for the weekend, do submit your idea. The form for idea submission can be found in the ticket confirmation email that you guys get. And from there, 15 to 20 ideas will be picked to actually for them to actually form teams and work over the weekend itself. But for the rest of the for Saturday and day 2 and day 3, it's pretty similar to a physical startup weekends, whereby we are still going to arrange for mentor sessions to happen. We'll still be holding mock pitches for teams to come in to practice their pitch, and also on Sunday, where that's where the final pitches will happen, where we get a panel of judges to dial in virtually and to listen to what the teams have actually worked out over the weekend.
Yeah. So to reiterate what Shahan mentioned, do keep in mind that you guys have to submit your ideas ahead of the startup weekend, and the deadline is 23rd April, 6 p.m. So do keep that in mind, and only registered participants, your ideas would be considered. So make sure that you guys are registered on Eventbrite, and then you can access the Google form for your idea submission on the confirmation email. So yeah, do keep that in mind. Yeah. So I think, this time we are aligning the kind of solutions that we are looking for to areas like challenges that have arose from the pandemic situation, right? So I think we have shared some verticals on our social media, like our Facebook, our Instagram. So maybe, Shan, maybe you can share if it was you, if you were joining Startup Weekend, which vertical would you choose to work on?
Okay. So like we've shared on our social media pages, there is actually a series of this is actually a series of virtual startup weekends that were happening from the first week of April to the last week of April. And we are focused on tackling the issues from the COVID-19 pandemic. And we are trying to find solutions that's unique to each country. So if you guys don't have any idea in mind, there are some few key areas of interest that WHO has shared, such as like the businesses, helping the vulnerable population, looking at solutions for entertainment or education. So this is actually a good starting point for you guys to scope out some of the issues that you want to come in to solve. But for me personally, I think I would like to work on something that would be useful and helpful for the community. Yeah, what about you, Yue?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty difficult choice, I think, for all the participants. If you guys have seen all the 6 verticals, okay, so the 6 verticals were actually collated jointly with WHO, right, as Shahan mentioned. And I think it's fair to say that I think the pandemic situation has affected all spheres of life, right? And so I think it'll be pretty hard to choose an area because all of them are pretty pressing. I think for myself, I'll probably choose the business segment, mainly because I feel like a lot of businesses are very, very heavily affected, especially those in F&B and retail side. And I think across the board, because the economy is not doing well, so I guess everyone's looking to have cost-cutting measures. And I guess this would be the part where if there are any tech solutions that could help people to learn to share resources, collaborate, things that you guys have already developed, how can you guys help each other to stay afloat in these times? I think that would be very helpful to a lot of the businesses out there. So yeah, I guess that would probably be the area that I would want to go into with our participant. All right, and we have Nikhil. Nikhil is on, so Nikhil is joining
Nikhil.
us. All right.
Hey.
Hi.
Great. Yeah, Nikhil, great to see you. We were just wrapping up a little bit on some of the background of Startup Weekend 2020. And I think maybe for now we can take a pause on the questions first. So as shared earlier, do keep your questions coming on the comment box, and we would address them along the way, or if not at the end of the video. Yeah, any questions that you guys have for Nikhil, keep the comments coming.
Okay. So just wanna set the settings a little bit. Nikhil has interacted with us on a variety of different events and occasion. He has taught some of our in various ways as mentors and so on. So he's a good friend of ours, and for Startup Weekend, we are really fortunate to have him now for this AMA. Really, for the rest of the audience here, if you are first time interacting with someone from the VC world, it will be a great opportunity for you guys to engage Nikhil, to know what he's thinking, given the very trying situation that we have going on, not just in Singapore, but globally. Nikhil has a vast amount of experience when it comes to dealing with startups. I think Shihan and Iwei will do a very good job in grilling him. But more importantly, I think Nikhil, this is probably one of the easier sessions that you will have, if not for today, for the rest of the week. So it's going to be a very chill session. I want to thank you on behalf of the Startup Weekend community. We really appreciate you coming here and spending some time with us. So without further ado, because they've really done a very good introduction for you, I think we can just take it off from there. I'll just hand you off to our moderators.
Yep. So
thanks.
Yeah, so maybe let me do a brief introduction of Nikhil before I pass the mic over to him. So for you guys that are not familiar with Nikhil, he is actually the partner of Strive Ventures, previously known as Gree Venture, and they have recently closed their third cross-border fund of $100 million in March 2020. I think it's really impressive, and the fund invests in across seed to early stage investments. They invest across B2B, SaaS, deep tech companies, and they have offices in Japan, Singapore, and Bangalore that opened recently. So Nikhil actually oversees the Southeast Asia as well as India portfolio, and he sits on the board of more than 11 of the fund's portfolio companies, and over the past 3 years, supporting them in their development. And I think aside from that, Nikhil is also an angel investor. He is an experienced founder as well. So we are really glad to have him here with us, given his experience in developing early stage ventures. And maybe now I'll pass the mic over to Nikhil to share more about himself and how Strive is coping with the COVID situation.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. And thanks for that kind background. Yeah, I think happy to take any questions. But so far, I think the last sort of month has been almost like a whirlwind. Spending a lot of time with portfolio companies, jumping on all of those 15 boards that I sit on, either as a director or as an observer, and just talking to founders, and yeah, just calls back to back.
Yeah, I believe most of them must be panicking right now, right? I think a lot of changes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would say instead of panic, I would say everyone is a bit frazzled. Of course, this is quite unexpected, and at sort of the global scale that this is happening, it's unexpected for everyone. And so that's where I guess everyone's strategies have changed, plans have changed, fundraising, cash burn, so much has to completely be redone. So most founders tend to sort of make a plan for the year around November, December timeframe and sort of figure out what they want to do for the next 1 year. I guess everyone that built that plan has sort of taken that plan and put it into the dustbin and sort of started afresh. And so that's where I guess most of the time is being spent. Yeah.
Wow.
Right. Yeah. So for those of you that have just joined in, we have Nikhil here with us. So if you guys have any questions, do keep them coming. For Nikhil, so you shared like this is a challenging time for a lot of startups as a whole for the community. But do you actually see any opportunities for the tech innovation to come in to actually resolve some of the challenges that we face today resulting from the pandemic itself?
Yeah, I think definitely, right. Like just how we say, software is eating the world, like software should be saving the world as well. Right? And a lot of that has sort of already been done in the sense of how, the test kits and, Singapore had its own sort of form of testing for COVID, like which led to cluster tracing and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of stuff obviously going on in the biotech space, which is helping sort of tackle this whole situation. And of course, there's a lot happening in the typical internet world, all with things like video conferencing, being the new normal, start a weekend running virtually. So much has changed in the matter of months, right? So, and tech is definitely helping us stay connected, stay functional, even when we are sitting at home, right? And for example, our business as a VC, in a way, hasn't really been impacted. Surprisingly, I was just thinking, I haven't traveled for 2 months now, and typically I would travel almost like every week. But it's not like my business has stopped or anything, right? Like we're still on the same pace as before in terms of the number of investments we're looking at. And sort of working on almost a similar trajectory. So as long as tech can help us be functional even at this point of time, I think that's a win, right?
Yeah. I think definitely. I think I think that's where now we have to really put our minds together. I think the past decade, we have developed a lot of new technologies. I guess now it's kind of like learning how can we apply it, to actually solve some of the challenges that have arose right now. I think that's the exciting part. And I think that's where I guess we hope a lot of the participants that are coming for Startup Weekend, we are excited to see what kind of ideas they'll be putting in. Yeah, so we definitely do hope that, tech innovation can come in to solve some of these issues.
Yeah, I think one thing that has happened is like, tech adoption has just increased so massively, so quickly. It's almost like a forced thing. And in a way, like it's unfortunate that it's coming at the expense of, deaths and severe health issues. But eventually it has led to a very strong spike in usage of technology across the strata, right? Like from the poor to the rich, and
Yeah.
from like young to the old, right?
Yeah.
And so when you see that kind of adoption happening, ideally it should not go back to like default status as before pre-COVID, right? So the post-COVID world would look very different from the pre-COVID world,
Definitely.
from the lens of an investor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
that's
maybe,
what we have to start thinking about.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, your sharing got me thinking. Like, are there like certain examples that you can share on like some of your portfolio companies right now that have taken innovative approaches in maybe adjusting their business lines or like going into new areas because of this pandemic situation to cope and to stay afloat, that you can actually share with the participants?
Yeah, almost every one of them, right? Like, I think there are two kinds of companies in our portfolio. Ones who are sort of automatically positively affected or impacted by COVID, and the ones who are negatively impacted, right?
Yeah.
And most of them, obviously around 70% of them lie on the negatively impacted, right?
Yeah.
So all of these companies had to very quickly think about how to change or transform the business to sort of function in the current status quo, right? And let me give you some examples. So, for example, we have a company in India which was building this sort of an ERP solution for tuition centers. So, when you would go in India, we have 1 million tuition centers. So when you go there, you study in these group classes, and that was the norm. That was the offline industry. And this company was sort of building tools and technology for the tuition centers. And the moment like India announced a lockdown, within 3 days they came up with this sort of video streaming application to help the same tuition centers start providing online lessons through their platform, right? And so suddenly the tables were turned. Like earlier, we used to sell to tuition centers, and there used to be sales. Now, like they were approaching the company, like, hey, we want to use this solution so that our business can be shifted completely online. So in a way, like you have to make sort of challenge an opportunity. We've seen like similar examples across the board, like one company which was serving doctors with a similar ERP sort of a platform suddenly started doing teleconsultations for the doctors to sort of function and do their clinical practice even when they were at home, right? One company which was selling motor insurance suddenly started selling COVID insurance, and they saw like a 500x increase. New product line opened, and like 500x increase in 1 month. So yeah, there are a lot of like these kind of scenarios, but I guess it just have to be adaptable and nimble enough, right? And that's a character trait of a founder, that whenever you see an opportunity, you're running at it, right?
So I think like based on the examples that Nikhil shared, is like for a lot of startups, rather than trying to figure out like what to do next, is to think about what the alternatives that they can explore using whatever the resources that they have, right? So Nikhil, I know you have been working with a lot of early stage ventures, and based on your experience working with them, what are some of the good practices for others like budding entrepreneurs out there that they can learn from?
Well, there are like hundreds and thousands of them, I guess, the good practices, right?
Pick three.
Top three. So I think I'll tell you like what we like to invest in, right? And those are the characteristics or traits of founders that we like to look for, even in a normal time. And I feel like they're even more valid in a time like this when things are sort of changing, right? So the first one I think would be founders who can be iterative in their approach. So, you build something, you test it in the market, you get quick feedback, you use that feedback and sort of apply it back into the product. And sort of that problem solution journey needs to be highly iterative. You can't just be slow at this cycle of problem solution, right? So you need to be very fast at doing this because the world is like way more fast paced than it used to be before. So earlier you could have taken, a month to sort of come up with something. Now you have to do it almost on a weekly or daily basis if possible, right? So that iterative approach is sort of a number one criteria for us. The second criteria that we like to focus on is frugality. So how can you do more with less, right? So consuming very less resources, how can you build something which is sort of extraordinary in terms of the like output that you get? So that can be in ways of how do you conserve your costs all the time, but it could also mean like how do you extract more from whatever you're spending right now? How do you increase productivity within the team? How do you make sure that your costs are sort of in areas where it actually does impact on the business, right? So as an example, like, administration expenses, general expenses, rent, these kind of like fixed expenses, ideally startups should be keeping it as minimum as possible. And their initial money should be going into R&D or sort of tech and product sort of salaries, and should be going into sales and marketing, should be going into taking that product to the customer, right? Rather than on either operational sort of expenses, because operational expenses means you're not really using a lot of tech, right? And not in general and admin. So when we look at the sort of cost breakdown, we try to see that the companies are heavily weighted towards R&D and S&M rather than OpEx and G&A. Yeah. Any questions on that?
Yeah, actually, just wanted to share that, currently we have over 40 people streaming on our Facebook. Yay! So, you could say hi to them. There are many questions that are coming in. So maybe let's take one of the questions that is addressed. So I think one of the participants is asking, do you foresee any pitfalls that may arise with this fast-paced adoption of technologies that you mentioned earlier? I guess what would be, kind of like the risk of people just like taking technologies and applying it and trying to solve, I think we have all seen ventures that just force-fitting technologies into something just to solve a problem that may not even exist. So
right. So I think it's very critical that so that brings me actually to the third point that I was going to talk about like the founder quality, which is intellectual honesty. Like we want the founders that we invest in to always be honest about the data and the feedback that they're getting from the market. So be honest about whether your solution is mission critical to solving that problem, right? So it might be, for example, that, okay, because of COVID, because of lockdown, everyone is sitting at home and they start adopting your solution. But let's say whenever the lockdowns expire, whenever you're able to roam freely, you switch back to the old way, because the old way was much better than the way that you were offering, right? So now if you as a founder are intellectually honest about this, that today I'm seeing a spike in usage, is this actually a mission critical sort of solution that I'm providing to the problem, not just now, but in the future also? Or is this going to go back into its older sort of way or state of the market? And if you're intellectually honest about it, you'll be able to solve the problem in the right manner. Right? Yeah. So
it's important to be intellectually honest with yourself, basically.
Yeah, that's the only pitfall, that you might take this data or this signals in this kind of a time as the status quo, whereas it might not be the case. And people might switch back to their older habits when all of this sort of settles down. So you need to be intellectually honest about which one is it.
Right. So I think we have another question that's a participant has commented that Paul Graham says that it's better to start a company in a bad economy, right? So we should now where everybody is trying to figure out what's next. So in your opinion, what are the best kind of ideas to work on if I'm actually interested in starting up now?
I think the best kind of ideas you will get to know after a few months, because I think we're still in a state of flux. And as I said, like we'll have to wait for like a few more months. It's not like, right now we're all confined to our, homes. And this is not going to be the status quo for the, let's say, the foreseeable future, right? Like 5 years from now, we won't be confined to this space. So does this mean that, offices are no longer going to be used? No, right? Like we will, the moment we'll have an option, we'll probably go and sit in the office, right? Or most of us will do that, right? So just taking today and sort of building for today might not be the right thing. But what you should think about is 3 months from now, 6 months from now, how has people's behavior changed? And look for those signals and what has become sort of the new normal. And then use that as a thesis to build your next idea. So, if you just use today and say, so many video conferences happening, let me build a video conferencing solution. Like, okay, that could be the case, but that probably is not the best idea, right? So give it a bit of time. If you really want to start something, maybe start 3 months from now rather than today. In terms of thinking about the idea. Of course, you can test a lot in the market, start working on it today, and then start thinking like really going at it like next year. And if you look at Paul Graham, he was referring to, I think, after 2008, in 2009, exceptional companies like Slack, Uber, etc. were formed, right? There was also a gap of almost 1 year before sort of that happened. And, Uber came up with, ride sharing as a model. Sort of the whole shared economy happened because, 2008 had a financial crisis, and there were gig economy sort of started working because there were so many unemployed people, right? And now gig economy is a constant for our market. So, you have to just give it a bit of time before you start. Yeah.
It's like trying to get a sense of how long-term is this problem actually, right? I mean, is it just in a moment, or is it something that would actually, spin off into like a trend, right? I think that is something that I guess as a founder, you would have to make that assessment, which I think as much as, it's easy, I guess, in theory, but I think in reality, it's actually, I guess, the insight that actually, I think all of those founders that you mentioned, that they were able to spot that trend. I think that is something that, I guess, for our participants that are coming on Startup Weekend, hopefully that will be the case as well. Like you mentioned, I think a lot of the things that are happening because of the pandemic is going to be pretty much long-term in nature. But I guess where is it going to hit? I think that is something that, probably, our potential participants can start thinking about, right? I think we do have some more questions. There are actually quite a few questions. Let me take a look.
So I think from what Nikhil has shared earlier as well, right? Like so that Joshi has mentioned whether is it better to pivot completely. So I think that probably addresses part of it. Like you have to consider whether that idea is going to be there's longevity in that idea, or does it only solve like a one time, like a 2 weeks kind of problem, right? So I think what are the other questions there?
I think there's a question from April. She's asking, in your point of view, what will be the hot solutions / projects in the sustainability area after this COVID situation? Are there any that would come to mind?
Right.
Guess sustainability would probably cut across like your...
So I think we don't spend as much time thinking about sustainability, very frankly. Like we spend more time. But a lot needs to be said about, I don't know whether you've read the reports, but in India, because of, the lockdown, the air quality index has come down like massively, right?
Yep.
And rivers are clean, skies are blue, and I'm hoping that people can see this as a trend and can see the impact that humans are having on our environment, and the environmental sustainability is an area where you can start seeing some progress.
Yeah.
Correct. So yeah,
on sort of the market, on the environment, right? So now I think hopefully that's quite clear to everyone, right? And that should be used as a way to get some meaningful change in the society. So that, I think, and also health and safety, in like public health and public safety, like people are much more aware and conscious about public health and hygiene and safety. So hopefully that is also an area where awareness is now massively higher and can be used as a tool to shape sort of the next decade of innovation on it.
I think that there's an interesting question as well from Ankit asking, what are your views on the B2B and B2C market health in the coming few months? Like, do you think that, there will be, B2B companies are going to benefit a lot more from this or from this situation?
Like should startup founders be worried, or can they be more optimistic and be more hopeful that things will be better?
Yeah, and I guess from a potential participant, they may be asking this because they are thinking about their business model as well. What lies ahead, right? So do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, let me first talk about the overall sort of sector market health, right? So, and then we'll come to B2B and B2C. So I think firstly, 2 to 3 months is too short a time frame to be thinking of. Like you should be thinking like at least 1 year, right? Like how are my business prospects for 1 year? And I think over there, we definitely expect like a tampered down overall, right? So I think for the last few years, most of the focus of VCs as well as founders was on growth. I think that focus has already shifted to sustainability, which means unit economics, profitability, proper business models, etc. Right? So I think your focus should be on that aspect of the business rather than like exponential growth at this point in time. And within B2B and B2C, I think a bit difficult to say because it's not just a clear-cut B2B versus B2C. I think it really depends on sector, it depends on business model, etc. But overall, I would say B2B tends to be a bit more cash flow oriented, stable businesses, predictable businesses. And B2C tends to be a bit more unpredictable, but volatile business. So as a result, I would expect at this time the B2B sector overall would do better than the consumer internet sector, mostly because of demand sort of reducing in the consumer side, and sort of cash flows being a bit more sustainable on the B2B side.
It's very interesting that you mentioned the focus on the unit economics part of things. So you do see, I guess, VCs being a little bit more realistic in the kind of returns they are getting in this period of time.
I think, given a chance, VCs would always want, the best of both worlds. Like they would want hyper growth, and they would want like best economics, right? But we also know that both are not always possible together. Like to be able to grow very high, like quickly, you sometimes have to let go of economics, right? And the ride-sharing economy was a perfect example of how people did that. But I think in today's environment, the focus would be more on economics and much less on growth at this point.
Okay, right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So with that, what would you actually hope to see, come out of Startup Weekend, given that this is actually more geared towards like solving some of the challenges from like COVID situations. Is there any ideas that you're particularly excited about?
I think so. We're excited about in general, like a lot of different kinds of sectors. So I think SaaS solutions we always tend to remain excited in. So I think dev tools, like developer tools, is something we spend a lot of time on. So this is basically why this is more important right now is because, as I said, demand for tech solutions at this point is sort of exponential increase, and to be able to support that scale of demand, you need to have a good solid tech infrastructure underneath. So people who are sort of solving for the builders of this tech, I think we really like enabling those kind of companies. It's like sort of investing in the shovels rather than the gold mine, So if everyone is mining, then you better start like, investing in a shovel factory, right? So like that's sort of what we spend a lot of time on. But apart from that, I think my colleague, he also spends a lot of time on digital health. So like new and innovative ideas in the digital health sector, I think is something that we'll always be keen on.
Okay. Right. So on SaaS and on software. So we have a question from Mortis where he's asking like, for software startups, in which areas of biotech do you see like more opportunities there in the long term?
Okay, biotech is not my area of expertise. For this, I think I'll have to refer you to my colleague who's more from the biotech side, and I'll definitely if you ping me on LinkedIn, like I'll just connect you guys.
Great.
Great.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I think maybe, okay, guys, this is your last chance to put any last comments. Okay, so we've been having like consistently more than 40 people streaming in throughout the whole call. And your last chance to put comments, we're going to ask one more question and then maybe wrap things up a little bit. So Nikhil, so any words of advice for the budding entrepreneurs and people that will be coming for the startup weekend? Any advice when it comes to ideation, because they're going to be pretty early stage and coming up with the idea. So any words of advice to help them in this ideation process and finding that right solution? Yeah.
I would say like don't worry so much about ideation per se. Like, it's never about the idea. It's always about the execution of the idea. Yeah, right. Like, so as I said, pretty much every company has to go through this iterative process of like testing, like figuring a problem, finding a solution, testing it, and then iterating on it, right? So instead of focusing on ideas, focus on problems in the market, and then start building some solution for it and test it out. And if it works, great. If it doesn't work, change your solution, because the problem is not going anywhere, right? So just find problems in the market that are big and need solving, and solve them, right? And just do it in an iterative manner, and you'll be able to get to the right sort of idea over time.
I see.
So nobody ever managed to sit in a room and come up with the most wonderful idea and build that company, right? It always is go to the user, go to the customer, test out a solution for the problem that they're facing, see if it works. If it doesn't, rinse, repeat, right? So that's where I would say you should just have an open mind, and just look for problems. That's it.
So focus on the problem rather than just coming up with the idea, right?
Idea, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's a very, very useful piece of advice, because I think over the course of the hackathon as well, they would have time to basically read up, call up people to share about their idea and see what what the market says. And I think that's a very, very important process in actually coming up with a solution that the market wants as well. Yeah. Okay, so we going to take one more question from the Facebook Live? Let's see. There's a lot of questions. So
everybody's excited to have this chat.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, maybe one final question.
Yeah, maybe we'll take one final question.
From
Let's see.
maybe we can have the question from Brian.
Yeah. So Brian is asking, is edge computing too early in our current state of technology? Wow.
Yeah, wow.
Any thoughts on that, Nikhil?
Yeah, I don't think it's too early. In fact, like we were actually looking at a company just last week or last week, which was in edge computing.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's already functional. They have customers, and doing pretty well at this point. So I think we're in sort of right in the thick of it now. Now would be a great time to look at this part of technology. Yeah.
Useful hint for all the participants out there. All right. So yeah, I think we are coming to I think the end of the chat with Nikhil. So we really want to thank Nikhil for his time. I think it's very insightful, and I think all of us has definitely taken a few points or two that we can actually chew upon from Nikhil's sharing. So to close off, maybe Nikhil, could you share with us one last thing? Is there anything that you want to let us know that Tribe is going to be working on moving forward, or any encouragement, or
to all the participants, budding entrepreneurs?
Do you like to share before we move to the Q&A? Yeah.
Right. So I think two things on Strive's plan. So, as you mentioned, we just raised our sort of $100 million third fund, 110 million actually. And, we are in business. So we are definitely, I guess, in a way, it was good timing. And we sort of timed the market right in terms of our fundraise also. This will give us, I hope, an edge in terms of doing deals and being active even at this point when overall sort of the markets are looking a bit bleak, right?
Yeah.
And which brings me to the second point, which I think is a piece of advice, I guess, for all founders who are looking to start. Timing your sort of solution to the market is very important, right? I think it's good that somebody asked, like, is edge computing too early? So figuring out whether am I too early or too late is always a good thing to ask yourself before sort of jumping in, right? So timing it is very important. But what is also important to remember is that almost every year, so let's take US as an example because it's a much more mature market. Like every single year for the last 3 decades, there have been some exceptional companies that have come out in those years, regardless of whether there was, the GFC, the financial crisis, the dot-com burst, be whatever it is, there's always at least, 2, 3, 5, 10 companies that come out of every market every year, which are exceptional companies, right? It's your job to build that company, right? And it's our job to invest in that company. That's it, right?
Yeah.
And so as long as you're building that exceptional company and you're that exceptional founder, then just go do it, right? And don't think so much about COVID, non-COVID, post-COVID, pre-COVID, market's good, market's bad, VCs investing, VCs not investing. If you have a good company, there will be investors who will want to invest in it, regardless of whether there's no investment happening overall in the market or a lot of investment. Right? So just look for the right problems, big problems, challenging problems to solve, and just go ahead and solve them.
All right.
Thanks for that. I think it's very encouraging for all our participants. Yeah.
And so we really appreciate you for joining us today. We will be sharing the link for the dial-in for the 26th April, where we have our final features, and you'll get to see what comes out from Startup Weekend. All right.
Awesome.
So we'll share more details with you, and we'll let you take your leave. Thank you, Nikhil.
Thanks, Nikhil. Thanks so much for the time. I appreciate it. Bye.
All right. Thanks. Okay. Hi guys. So for those of you that have joined in slightly later, I'm Shihan and this is Iwei. So we are the part of the organizing team for Startup Weekend Singapore 2020. So we just had that chat with Nikhil on some of the insights that he had on the challenges and opportunities that startups for the community is facing during this period. Now we're going to take some questions for this particular startup weekend that we are running on the 24th to 26th of April. So keep your questions coming in the comments and we'll try to address it along the way. Yeah. So I guess for the process of registration is quite straightforward. Sign up for a ticket. What's different this time around is that ideation, so submission of idea is not on day one of the pitch. It actually happens from right now all the way till next Thursday. So do send in your ideas that you guys would like to work on, and the top 15 to 20 ideas will be selected for this particular startup weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, I think to add on as well, I think all of you guys that will be submitting your ideas, we have actually posted the verticals, that Techstars has actually worked with WHO to collate some of the key challenges that technological innovation could come in to solve. And we have posted all of these on our social media channels. So do check them out. And I believe they will help in your ideation process as well. And as we mentioned, do take note that you guys have to be registered on Eventbrite first, and before you submit your ideas, and only registered participants will, your ideas will be considered. So do keep that in mind. Yeah.
Yeah, so how different is it? We are trying to look at we know that this is a virtual one, and people don't get to meet each other, but we are looking at trying to put like virtual networking sessions, like having that chat, allowing you guys to actually post your lunch photos and try to make things fun as well, just like how we usually do for Startup Weekend. So yeah, are there any questions that
keep the questions coming.
Yep. All right. And then I guess for a few things that some of the questions that we got is like, what if I don't have an idea? Can I still sign up as a participant? Definitely, you can still join us for this startup weekend. Next Friday on the 24th of April, we will be announcing the ideas that are selected. And you can mingle, and whichever idea that you align to the most, have a chat with the idea owner. Tell them what you can bring to the table. Tell them that you are really passionate about joining them to actually solve that challenge itself. And who knows, you might make a new friend and form a new team.
Yep. So once again, you have to be a registered participant before you'll be given access to the exclusive channel where you get to form teams with under the selected ideas. So do make sure you're registered. Okay. Yeah, I think we have a question from David. Where can we get the list of mentors participating? Shahan, do you want to answer that?
Okay, so for the list of mentors that are participating, we will actually be populating the Techstars Startup Weekend Singapore's website, and so it will be on an ongoing basis, and we will probably share it across our social media channels across this 2 weeks as well. So do actually like and follow us on our Facebook, Instagram, and you'll actually be the first few to find out who are the mentors that are coming on board.
Yeah.
All right.
And I think we have one question from Jun Zhe. So we'll be announcing the platform that we will be hosting the event on. So stay tuned for that. It's not out yet. So good guess there. And then what if we bought ticket but did not see any ideas to join, just curious? So as Shahan mentioned, we will be announcing the selected ideas on Friday. Yes. Yeah, so that would be when you would see the ideas. So and we would also be giving you guys access to the platform, so you would definitely see the selected ideas there. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So the channel that we will be onboarding of ticket holders. It will be done probably later this week. And so for you guys that don't see any ideas yet, want to bounce off ideas, we'll definitely have a channel there for you guys to share your ideas, figure out whether this is something that you want to submit eventually. All right.
Yeah. And I think we also had questions from people that ask like, what if I don't have an idea? like what happens if I don't have one. I think as with all startup weekends, I think not everyone will be an idea owner. So that's fine. But we do encourage all participants to try to submit an idea. I mean, who know, you may have it in you and you just haven't realized it. So I mean, we do encourage you guys to still put in an idea, and we will be evaluating all of them that you submit, and to choose the top few ideas. Yeah, if not, you can always join. I mean, all registered participants will be on the platform, and you'll get to form teams with the other participants under the selected ideas. So not to worry about that. Yeah.
Yep. Just to add on, the list of ideas, the 15 to 20 ideas that are selected will be announced on the 24th of April. So it's next Friday. Because the deadline for idea submission is actually happening next Thursday. So submit your ideas early. Don't wait till the last minute, right? And then you can grab a friend, form team. Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
So I think if there are no more questions, we will be ending this live stream. We thank you everyone for streaming in, and I think a few things, a few notable things to come up. Yeah. So we have a upcoming AMA session on this Thursday with Hian from Friday with Hian from Open Space Ventures. So do keep a lookout for that, and he'll be sharing a lot more exciting stuff with us as well. And the idea submission deadline is next Thursday. So do keep these two dates in mind, and keep a lookout on further details on our social media channels, and
follow us.
Yes, like and follow us. Yep.
Yeah, so take these next few days, think through if you guys have any other questions. We will have we'll take a couple of minutes during the AMA with on Friday with Hian as well towards the end to address any more questions that you guys have for Startup Weekend. So thank you for joining us this Monday evening. This Monday evening, and we'll catch you on Friday, guys.
Yeah, stay safe, everyone. Bye.
Bye.